Alright guys, let's take a look at Ondo on the channel. For the first time since January 19th, I actually didn't even use this chart. It doesn't even go that far back. It only goes back as far as April 11th of 2025. So anyways, we do have an inverse head and shoulders basically here that tried to form, but it broke down, actually got rejected by this trend line as you see right here. If I zoom in, you'll see it a little bit better. So got rejected on the 13th and 14th of August, and it finally punched through on the 10th of September, retested it yesterday on the 11th of September, got a huge bounce, and right now it is fighting that line, basically that neckline of that inverse head and shoulders. So it can't break it yet. It's fighting actually two resistances. Basically this weekly resistance at about $1.10, and then this trend line which sits just about $1.10.5, let's say. And yeah, there is one more resistance above at about $1.14, $1.15 here on a daily time frame. Once we break this weekly time frame and this resistance right here, this trend line, like I said. And that's it, guys. And then you're pretty much racing to the upside, and there's nothing standing in your way probably. Now, there is some news that's pushing Ondo, and we need to look back about 6 days ago when these pumps started. And you can see there is this news right here from 6 days ago. You got 3 days ago, you have 2 days ago, you have yesterday's news, and today. Now, you can go back even farther than 8 days ago. You have 9, 11 days, 20 days, 21 days. Ondo is just a very, very active project, guys. It's a very good project. I like this project. I do think it's going to go very high. But there is just, there's a lot of news here from Ondo. I mean, this is just a great, great project to hold. If you don't hold it, I recommend getting it now. It's not financial advice, guys, but, you should get it while it's still low. Jumping over to the volume profile here, you can see this is where we stand right now. Basically, though, we are above the point of control, which is about 97.5 cents. This is this white line right here. We only have, just this stair-stepping up to do. Basically, when you get above about 117 here, there's almost no volume above that. Now, jumping over to the Bollinger Bands, there's nothing really on a weekly time frame to look at. It's just started printing a couple weeks ago, really. Now, if we look at the daily time frame here, it's basically like an intestine, I like to say. There's not really any pinching, I would say. Basically, on the 9th of September, it's a little bit narrow here, but I just don't think this is the result of the price action. The Bollinger Bands, at least, don't really play a part so far. Now, we don't really have anything above a daily time frame to really look at, so let's look at the daily and down. The stochastic, though, the blue line is about to cross this red line to the downside. That is not good. RSI is pointed up, but just about to basically get overheated here, I would say. 4-hour time frame, it's flirting with being overheated here on RSI. The stochastic is pointed down pretty heavily, so that's not that good. 1-hour time frame pointed up pretty heavily here on stochastic. RSI just a little bit slanted down, almost flat though. So that may be the best time frame that we will see, and yeah, probably it is. And RSI is slightly pointed down here on the 15-minute time frame. Stochastic is pointed heavily to the downside. So basically, guys, I would just say that, it's going to struggle probably with this neckline of that inverse head and shoulders, or what should have been that neckline, but it just broke down. It didn't really complete the inverse head and shoulders, unfortunately. But it probably will struggle with this 110 area for a bit. It's going to need a little bit of a reset. But guys, eventually it's going to break through. And once it breaks through, this is just a daily resistance to the upside. And it's not really going to hold this back, I think. Now, jumping back over to the tokenomics of Ondo, guys, this is the number 50 coin. So this is pretty big, guys. Top 50 coin. Not bad. Now, it's only up about 7.5% right now at this moment. You can see my bag. I have a small bag, but hey, at least I have a bag. Now, max supply is 10 billion. About 31.5% of that is circulating right now. That's not too bad. If we go to the all-time high, it does say $2.14. I'm wondering which exchange has it at $2.14. But if that's the case, like I said, I did a video on this January 19th of this year. That was the last video. and I'm looking at it on Binance and it only goes back to April. So maybe I did it on BitGet or somewhere else. It's possible this could be correct, but again, you're just, you know, a little bit less than half, you know, down. I mean, 50%, under 50% down. That's pretty good. I do think, you know, it's had its time in the sun. It's a little bit more than a year old. You know, it's not too old, this project. And, you know, it's a very good project. Like I said, you know, if you bought it at the all-time low at 8 cents, you did an amazing job. You're probably a billionaire by now. Now, before I go a little farther in this video, guys, you can claim some bonuses on my favorite crypto exchanges below. I have partnerships with 10 exchanges here. If you use my links, of course, I do get some commission, guys, but it's usually very small unless you're a mega millions, you know, trader or billionaire or something like this, guys. And you can also find Moodix here. You can get a free 7-day trial, and you can follow me on X here. Now, jumping over to Bitcoin, we are getting a green candle today. Yesterday, we weren't able to get above this 115,726 mark, but today we so far have gotten above that. We're at 116,100 at the moment, but we have gotten rejected at 116,333 here, so $333. So anyways, these are all basically just daily resistances to the upside, so that's not that strong. The next strong resistance is 119,560. Now, the CME gap has been erased as of today. I left it here just to show you guys that this gap no longer exists, so I should probably just take that off. We actually have zero gap now, so that's a good thing. Like I said, eventually this gap would probably get closed. You know, 99.6% of these gaps, I think, is what I heard like a month ago. They you know, fill basically eventually. Now, Ethereum is back to this Fibonacci right here, and it's trying to break through basically 4640. And after it does this, there's only 2 daily resistances to the upside. And then again, you're taking on the all-time high. So Ethereum is actually looking pretty good the last couple of days finally. You know, for about a 10-day period here, it wasn't looking so hot. But it's doing good, I can say. You know, in my opinion, I do think Ethereum will probably go to $6,000 or $7,000. That's probably the range I estimate it to go. But we'll see. You never know. This is just a guess. It's a wild guess, and anybody can make guesses. Total market cap is actually at $4 trillion at the moment. It's trying to bust through 4.01 trillion. This is a daily resistance, so it's not that strong. Now, the last resistance after that is 4.12 trillion, and then basically you're making new all-time highs again. Now, the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, is having a massive day. Yesterday, and actually the last, you know, couple of days have been just massive. So we're going to take on 1.71 trillion on a monthly time frame here shortly. The target of this breakout, guys, is sitting up here at 1.75 trillion though. Bitcoin dominance is taking a dump once again, so this is nice to see, sitting at 57.88%. Now, guys, like I said, we are going to make it down here to about this 48%. Maybe even down to about 40% range. So this is the target. Once we get there, it's probably time to sell everything. But you can see we still have a lot of supports here on a weekly time frame. I still need to mark off more supports here. But, you know, we're pretty far from that right now, so I'm not going to do that right away. First, we need to break 56.77 and then 55.97. But this is going to mean thousands and thousands of dollars in many people's bags, guys, especially mine. Another great chart to look at is this USDT dominance, guys, and actually the last like 6 days, 5 of these days have been pretty down, so that's good for altcoin holders, crypto holders actually in general. That means people are actually putting their USDT back in the crypto. We have lost the support for now, 4.31%. Keep in mind, we're looking at this on a daily time frame. We need to seal a weekly candle below 4.31%. Then we can make it down to about 3.8%. But again, we're going to have to get, you know, below this support here. So this was a long-term trend line that we finally broke. And this trend line actually goes back to like April. So it could get a bounce there, theoretically. So let's see what happens. But I don't think it's going to really support it for very long if it does bounce there. Altcoin season index at a 78 now. So yesterday I think the high was 76 if I remember correctly. So again, we're back in altcoin season at the moment. And yeah, I hope we don't go up too fast though. I'm a little bit worried we will go up to, like 100 really quickly. We don't need to do that. We need to kind of hang here for a bit and go up slowly. So it's getting a little bit alarming for me. I don't want to have such a quick altcoin season. We do need to let it kind of, brew a bit. Now, if we go to liquidation heat map, 24 hours, basically about 340 million have been wrecked in the last 24 hours, mostly shorts. So if you're longing or shorting, be very careful, please. Now, fear and greed, 57. Yesterday was a 54, so we're back in greed. We were neutral yesterday, but 57 is not too bad. We're not going up too fast, really. Next update in about 5.5 hours here. Now, bull market peak indicators. Again, it's that altcoin season index that has been hit. And, for me personally, I'm not so sure that that's really one of the best indicators. In my opinion, and many people's opinions, the Pi Cycle Top indicator is the best. And it has about a 60% progress at the moment. So if we look at other, indicators, most of these are under 90%. So we have 87, 87, 78. We have, 83 here, 87. So most of these haven't, come close to being hit. We have 85 here, but yeah, I think we need to really start worrying probably when we have about 7 or 8, 9 indicators hit, and then we can start to say, well, maybe it's over. Now here's the Pi Cycle Top indicator that I need to show you. Basically, we need these two lines to cross, and then it's over, guys. Now, if we look at the economic calendar for next week, there's not too much going on that will affect the interest rate cuts, but we do have New York Empire State Manufacturing on Monday. We have core retail sales on Tuesday. We also have retail sales, industrial production Wednesday. This is the most important day next week. Basically, they're going to decide whether to cut a 1/4 point or a 1/2 point. Then you have the press conference, and that's probably the most important thing, actually. Now, Thursday, you do have jobless claims, but that's every week. You also got Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index. You got U.S. Leading Index. And Friday is a dead day. Moodyx today actually had a very negative day, unfortunately. If we look at all the news that came out today, basically there was just one positive piece of news. But the most important piece of news for us was actually the Michigan consumer expectations. And it was just slightly negative. So that's not bad. PPI and CPI were very positive, and this is just a very small negative. FedWatch Tools is showing about a 94% chance of a 1/4 point cut still, so there's about a 5.5% chance of a 1/2 point cut. But if you look at the Polymarket Fed decision in September, you can see that basically people think there's a 9% chance for a 1/2 point cut. So there's still actually 2% believing no change. But you do have 89% believing just a 25 basis point cut. Trueflation showing about a 2% inflation rate. So again, that's where the Fed wants it. Now, if we look at crypto bubbles today, pretty much everything is in the green. Basically across the board, everything in the green. And you can see Ondo, it's up only about 5.7% right now. But anyways, most things are, I would say, about 4 or 5% up, maybe 2%, yeah. So they're in this range. There are a couple of outliers, of course. Anyways, if you want to stake your Ondo, guys, go to CoinOndo. You do kind of have to search for it in coins. You have to know what number it is, basically. Like I said, it was number 50 on CoinGecko, and I think it was like number 30-something here in CoinOndo right now. But I have mine actually staked in Biconomy for 6%. I actually moved it there last week, but there's only a few places here to stake. I wouldn't put it in xt.com, guys, if I were you. They stole my Casper, and I'm going to continue to say that every time I see xt.com. So anyways, guys, if you like this video, like, subscribe, activate the bell, share this video with your friends. Check out some of those links that I have below, guys. You can get some good deals. And like I said, if you use my link, of course I do get some commission, but guys, it's really pennies. Trust me, it's really pennies. Anyways, I really appreciate it. And guys, I will see you in the next one.